Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. So before we get into your research, can you tell us what the Paleo Lab is?
Sure thing. So it's a new initiative that is at Nelson Mandela University on the Summerstrand South Campus.
Mm-hmm.
We are a state-of-the-art laboratory that works on paleoecology, which is past environments and ecosystems. So we reconstruct those. So when we have a strong geographic focus on the south coast, where we are right now, on the Eastern Cape and the Cape Floristic region. And our main focus is looking at fossil pollen.
Okay. So can you tell us about your research on climate change and how ancient and present-day pollen could help inform future climate models?
Yes, so the really cool and useful thing about fossil pollen, which is our main application that we have at the lab, is that it can be used to reconstruct vegetation histories. And from that, we can use that to work out different types of past climate and how climates have responded in the past. And this is really important for current and future climate change, because this kind of information goes beyond our human history and our ability to record climate change within our lifespans. So we have this data that we can mine from the past that are then built into the climate models and strengthens the climate models and reduces the uncertainties within these models that we use to predict future climate scenarios, which is the thing that's very topical right now in terms of the COP meeting that's just happened. So all that information that's going out internationally, there's a lot of paleoscience, a lot of paleo data that are built into those models to be able to determine what our current and future climate projections might well be.
Okay, now tell us about the danger of having high temperatures caused by climate change, and where does that place Africa?
So the thing with the changes in temperatures is that often plants, in terms of it's a great threat to biodiversity, especially within the Cape Floristic region and grasslands and savanna biomes within our country, because plants are adapted and evolved to be able to deal with certain bioclimatic changes. And the warming and drying trends that we see, for instance, within the Cape Floristic region, goes beyond the ability of some of these plants to be able to withstand that. So we might see reductions in ranges in different types of vegetation types, and expansions of ones that can tolerate drying and warming trends. So it will threaten the biodiversity that we really are quite renowned for here in South Africa.
So what does it mean when being said that pollen can be a predictor to help inform about on future climate models?
So what I was saying before is that pollen forms part of a greater suite of data called paleo data or paleoscience data. And fossil pollen is the direct link to be able to reconstruct vegetation. So what we do is we go along and we extract sediments from different wetlands and flays and get a time series of data in terms of the different types of pollen, and that can then be directly related to different changes in vegetation. And then in the next step is to look at how the climates have changed in association with the vegetation change. So this kind of information is really useful to be able to feed into these climate models in order to understand kind of present baselines. For instance, like what is natural, how do we know that a grassland is actually meant to be in this space. Often in terms of grasslands, we think it's sort of degraded. But for instance, in the Drakensberg region, we can say that because of the fossil pollen records we have showing that the grassland was there for over the last 5,000 years, we know that it actually is a natural means of the landscape as opposed to a human-induced degraded landscape. So those are sort of ecosystem type questions can be answered. And then just to reiterate the fact that the paleo data, including fossil pollen, are fed into the climate models that are all in the press right now in terms of where we're going in a warming world.
So how far are you with your research?
I mean, for South Africa, it's a great thing and a disadvantage in that there's so much still to be done. We've just started. The lab was established at the end of 2018, and we literally had to build it from scratch in terms of the actual physical space. And we've got now lots of students involved and a lot of momentum with some great research grants that have been awarded to us. So watch the space for the next couple of years. There's going to be a lot of exciting things happening in the Paleo Lab at Mandela Uni.
Thank you so much for joining us in the program, and thank you so much for sharing this information with us.
Absolute pleasure.
Okay,
Great to be on the show.
Before we let you go, do you have any last words you want to say to our listeners?
If anybody's interested in pursuing any paleoscience research, you can find me on the web. If you just search for Dr. Lynn Quick, you'll see that there's a Nelson Mandela Paleo Lab website, and further you can get hold of me through the systems in that way. In terms of undergraduate projects in the science faculty or postgraduate research that we're doing.
Okay. Thank you so much, Doc.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Lo ke mphulaphuli ibingu Dr. Quick